Hello, my name's Andy. Welcome to Andy Juggles Languages. So I made a video 2 days ago talking about reflecting on your language learning journey. And in that video, I said that sometimes you have to just stop what you're doing and you have to give yourself a bit of space to sometimes just do nothing for a while in order to come back to something. So I was watching Winnie the Pooh the other day. And one of the phrases in Winnie the Pooh is the best thing about doing something is doing nothing. So sometimes you need to do nothing in order to frame the something, to give the contrast to the something. So what have I been doing lately? Nothing. No, seriously, I have. I'm always learning languages. But I've been having a good look back at my YouTube channel and the videos that I've made. And I decided that I wanted to have a look to see if I could gauge how much progress I've made in some of my language learning challenges. And what I learned mainly was that I do like to start challenges, but I don't always finish them. And it's like that saying, the road to hell is paved with good intention. So sometimes I do make too many challenges for myself, and some of them are a bit beyond me at that moment in time. So, for example, I made a video about having a challenge to learn a poem, and the poem was in Polish, but my level of Polish wasn't really good enough to start doing things like poetry at that time. And maybe now would be a good time to start doing that, or a few months in the future, maybe. But my point is that I often do these things and then I'm able to finish the challenge because they're a bit too difficult. So I should really take my own advice. I made a video entitled SMART, which is having a SMART plan, and SMART stands for specific, manageable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And sometimes I'm not very realistic with my plans. Anyway, let's not criticize me any longer. So over the last couple of days since I made that video, I've made a list of languages that I've ever tried to learn, and I looked back at the list, and what I've done is I've written the list out in order of how I feel that I'm either fluent or confident in the languages. So I've put the best languages to the top, and I've put the ones that I'm not so confident in at the bottom. Now, some of the ones I've put nearer to the bottom are languages that I used to be quite good at, but I've lost because I haven't practiced them. So this is the key thing, if you don't practice something, you tend to start losing it a little bit. So what I've done is I've taken some of the languages out of the list because they're only ones that I never really started properly. I only maybe studied them for a few weeks and didn't go back to them, and they were just a sort of passing fancy. So I've narrowed this down, and there are quite a lot of languages on my list. Now, what I want to do with this list is I've got a plan now. Having had a bit of a reflect, having had a bit of time out, I now have a plan for my next videos and for my next learning plan. And it's not actually learning as such, but it's reviewing. So I'm still in that phase of going back rather than making new plans to go forward. And I think this is a good thing for me to do because I tend to be that impulsive initiator. And, in my job, I'm a shop manager, so I tend to initiate things to happen. And we do have plans, obviously we have to have plans. So in my job, I just want to draw an analogy with my job and what I'm going to do with my plan is in my job, I have something called a KPI. And a KPI, if you don't know what that is, it stands for Key Performance Indicator. So I'm a charity shop manager, and you might think being a charity shop manager is quite a simple job. And in a way it is, it's there are lots of basic things we do. We price goods up and we sell them, but there are lots of other dimensions to my job, such as recruiting volunteers, having sales targets, and also linking up with the community because we are a local charity and we have to have a certain image to the people who are supporting us and our donors. So I have a KPI meeting with my manager in a few weeks' time, and in that meeting I'll go over a spreadsheet and we go through and pick out sales figures, and we look at the past and say, did we achieve this in this year? What are we going to do next year? And we do this same process with each of the KPIs. So one of my KPIs, for example, is to recruit X number of volunteers per year. So I might not have hit that target last year, but I might say, well, what I'm going to do differently is this in order to recruit volunteers this year to be more successful. So it's a review and a plan at the same time. And this is what I want to do with my languages. So I want to do this with any language that I've ever learned. I want to have a review of my level or my competence or my kind of attitude or my engagement with that language, and then see if I can work out what I want to do with it. So some of these languages that are near the top of this list will look after themselves because they're ones that don't need input so much anymore. It's just a case of maintaining them. So I'm just going to show you my list now, and what I'm going to do is make a video about each language. I'm just going to concentrate on that one language to determine where I am with it, and then try to find out if I need to do anything with that language. So this might take me quite a long time to go through this list, but it's something that I want to do, and I think it's something that will be healthy for me to gauge where, if I want to continue with any of these languages in the future, and it might boost my confidence a bit to say that, oh, actually I can speak this one a bit better than I thought I could, or it might give me pointers towards some of the obvious mistakes that I'm making. So my list is here, so you probably can't see it, so I'll read it out. So I've got French at the top, so that's probably the language that I feel most confident with because I can just speak it without thinking, and I have probably a good level of both vocabulary and grammar in that language, having studied it for so many years. And my next language is Spanish, even though I used to feel that my Spanish was very rusty, but I think I've brought it back up again over the last couple of years. So French, Spanish, and some of these languages in the list, I've put some of them nearer to the top because they're ones that are fresher in my mind, that I feel confident in speaking, even though I might not have reached the same level as ones I'm going to put lower down that might be rusty, if that makes sense. So we've got French, Spanish, Mandarin, Polish, Italian, Russian, German, Arabic, Portuguese, Cantonese, Romanian, Kurdish, Hungarian, Croatian, Ukrainian, Greek, Turkish, Swahili, Hindi, and Nepali. And I've also written five other languages down that I've started studying for more than a few weeks at a time, but haven't really studied them in detail. So I'm not going to look at those languages, but I'll tell you what they are, just out of interest. It's Twi, Yoruba, Albanian, Lenca, and Dutch. So those 5 languages, Lenca was one that I studied a lot actually, so it really should be on this list on the side, but it's not going to prove useful to me because it's it's a language that died out many years ago in Honduras and El Salvador, and it is spoken by some people now, and I was on a project to help revive that language about 6 or 7 years ago with a few polyglots, having been to a polyglot conference in Greece, and it was a project to try to help revive a language. And I never ever used that language, even though I studied it a lot, and I even made word searches and crossword puzzles in this language in order for people to start learning their own language. It was a project to help the Honduran people of that region, of the western region of Honduras, to re-establish the language that had died out. And it had been re-established in El Salvador, a different dialect of the same language, successfully. But I don't think it's been successful in Honduras because the people themselves there weren't enough people to gain momentum in the learning process. So it didn't really gather enough momentum, if you like. So that's a shame. But I'll go through these languages one by one, and I'm going to make a video of me speaking in those languages, and then probably criticize it and go back over the videos that I've made in those languages. So that's my plan for the time being. I don't know how long this will take me. I don't know if I'll stick to this plan, because you know what I'm like. But also, what's inspired me to do this way is that on my YouTube channel, I've had plans before, and I've had specific language plans, and I think it's drawn some new subscribers in, but those subscribers may have drifted away and not commented anymore because I haven't posted another video in that same language that I was planning to do. Namely, for example, like Romanian. I had a Romanian video, and I said I'm going to be learning some Romanian, and then I never did, because I started doing something else and got busy at work. So I'm going to be having a leisurely look at these languages one by one, and I'm going to make a post on this channel so that I've got a note of the languages in order that I'm going to be making videos of. Thanks very much for watching, and please still stay safe. COVID's still out there. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd be grateful if you could do so, and hit the bell icon for notifications, and make a note in the comments below. So do you have any plans to review what you've been doing? I'll be interested to hear about that. Thanks very much for watching, and see you soon.